Winter never arrives all at once. It begins with smaller mornings, colder winds, leaves quietly falling from the trees. Then one day you notice something strange. The ants are gone. Just weeks ago they were everywhere, marching across sidewalks, climbing trees, carrying food several times their own weight, building endless highways across your backyard. Not a single one. It's almost as if millions of ants simply vanished overnight, but they didn't. Right now, beneath your feet, an entire civilization is still alive. Thousands, sometimes millions, of tiny insects are waiting in complete darkness, hidden from a world that believes they disappeared. So where do ants actually go every winter? The answer reveals one of the greatest survival strategies in nature. Long before winter arrives, the colony already knows it's coming. There are no weather forecasts underground, no calendars, no alarms. Yet every year, ants begin preparing at almost exactly the right time. Scientists believe they detect subtle environmental changes. The days slowly become shorter. The temperature begins to fall. Humidity changes. Even the angle of sunlight shifts. These tiny signals trigger a chain reaction throughout the colony. Suddenly, every worker has a purpose. Some search farther than ever before, others strengthen tunnels. Some clean the nest, others care for the young. There is no panic, only preparation. Every ant acts as if following the same invisible plan, because in a way, they are. Millions of years of evolution have programmed these behaviors. No individual ant understands winter, but together, the colony does. Food becomes the colony's highest priority. Worker ants spend the final warm weeks collecting everything they can find. Seeds, dead insects, plant material, anything that can provide energy later. Some species even create underground storage chambers packed with food. It's like filling an enormous pantry before a long storm. Other species use an even stranger solution. They create living food storage. Special worker ants, known as honeypot ants, store sweet liquid inside their swollen bodies. They hang from the ceilings of underground chambers like tiny living containers. When food disappears during winter, the colony feeds from these living reserves. Nothing goes to waste. Every crumb matters because once the ground freezes, finding fresh food becomes almost impossible. But food isn't the biggest challenge. Cold is. Ants are cold-blooded animals. Unlike humans, they cannot produce their own body heat. Their body temperature changes with the environment around them. On the frozen surface, that becomes extremely dangerous. If an ant stays exposed for too long, its muscles stop working. Its body slows. Eventually, it can no longer move at all. So instead of fighting winter, they avoid it. Most ant colonies retreat deeper underground, often much deeper than people imagine, sometimes more than a meter below the surface. Down there, the soil acts like a giant blanket. While the air above may fall far below freezing, the deeper ground stays much more stable. It isn't warm, but it's warm enough. And sometimes, that's all survival requires. Inside the nest, the colony transforms. The endless movement disappears. The busy highways become silent. Workers gather together in the deepest chambers. The queen remains protected in the center. Young larvae are moved into the safest locations. Everything slows down. Scientists call this state dormancy. It resembles hibernation, but it isn't exactly the same. The ants don't sleep continuously. Instead, their bodies enter an energy-saving mode. Their metabolism drops dramatically. They move very little. They eat only when necessary. Every tiny movement costs energy, so they spend as little as possible. Imagine trying to survive for months using the smallest amount of energy your body can manage. That's exactly what the colony does. They aren't inactive because they're weak. They're inactive because they're efficient. The queen becomes the colony's greatest responsibility. She may spend the entire winter surrounded by workers, not because she commands them, but because without her, the colony has no future. When spring arrives, she will begin laying thousands of new eggs. Every new worker, every future soldier, every future queen, all begin with her survival. The workers instinctively protect the colony's future by protecting its queen. No one gives orders, no meetings are held, yet every ant somehow knows exactly what to do. Together, thousands of simple decisions create one incredibly organized society. Not every ant survives winter the same way. Different species have developed different solutions. Some ants remain deep underground all season. Others hide beneath rocks or inside decaying logs where temperatures stay slightly warmer. Some species produce special chemicals inside their bodies that reduce ice formation. These natural compounds work like biological antifreeze. They don't make the ants immune to freezing, but they increase the chances of surviving extremely cold temperatures. Nature has spent millions of years testing countless survival strategies. The ones that worked were passed on to the next generation. Winter is also dangerous because food isn't the only thing that disappears. Predators, becomes scarce. Plants stop growing. The entire ecosystem slows down. But this actually helps the ants. With fewer animals searching for food, the underground nest becomes a much safer place. The colony simply waits, patiently, quietly, while snow piles above them. Storms come and go. Weeks pass, then months. The world changes overhead. The ants barely notice. Deep underground, time almost stands still. Eventually, something changes. The soil begins to warm. The days grow longer. Moisture returns. The signals that once warned of winter now announce something different. Spring has arrived. Slowly, the colony wakes. Workers begin moving through the tunnels again. They inspect the nest, repair damage, search for new exits. Then one ant reaches the surface. Soon, another follows. Then dozens, then hundreds. Within days, the familiar trails return. To us, it looks as if the ants suddenly appeared out of nowhere. But in reality, they were there all along, waiting, preparing, surviving. The most remarkable part isn't that ants survive winter. It's how they survive it. Not through strength, not through speed, not through intelligence alone, but through cooperation. A single ant is fragile. It can easily freeze, it can starve, it can become lost. But a colony behaves like one enormous living organism. Every worker contributes something small. Together, those small actions become extraordinary. Nature reminds us again and again that survival rarely depends on the strongest individual. It often depends on the strength of the group. Millions of ants understand this without ever speaking a single word. So the next time winter arrives and the sidewalks suddenly become empty, don't assume the ants are gone. Beneath the frozen ground hidden from sight, an entire civilization is still alive, waiting in darkness, protecting its queen, conserving every drop of energy, patiently enduring one of the harshest seasons on Earth. Then, when the warmth finally returns, so do they, almost as if they had never left. And perhaps that's the greatest secret of all. The ants never disappear. They simply know exactly when to wait.